Hey, hi everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. So, today's video is not going to be about any discussion on, let's say, any of the system design concepts or designing like a messenger or a Google Drive. It's more of a general topic wherein there have been queries that I usually answer from time to time. So this has been posted by one of my followers, and the person has queries on understanding certain challenges that a product owner usually has, right? So I'll go through the query that the person has, and also put in the framework for the discussion. It's basically a simple straightforward way of identifying the challenges that a product owner has. So without further delay, let's look into the query. So basically, the person has asked that the person is going to appear for an interview for the role of a PO, all right, and wanted some context on what is expected from such candidates. Background about the person is like, okay, some pre-MBA experience that includes QA engineering, and also working as part of the Scrum team for B2B SaaS products in CRM, payments, and API integrations, right? Now, the person is well versed with the agile methodologies. I'm assuming that is as part of the QA experience, right? And has also looked at QA tools, right? And also project management tools like Jira and Confluence. So the questions that the person has, right, are more related to uh, typically, I would say, on prioritization. This is like number one. I think I would say uh, the challenging area, or like the most pressing area that POs, PMs reach out frequently. As far as help is concerned, right? And then stakeholders, like how do the stakeholders interaction works, right? For a PO ownership, the person actually wanted to know what is the difference between PO and PM as an ownership, right? And then what are the tools that are used by the PO, right? So let's get into each of these one by one, right? So prioritization. So the questions are more around what are the things to take into account while prioritizing the work. So example, like you're doing a backlog grooming, or let's say you're planning for the sprint, right? What are the challenges, or what are the factors that you take into account while prioritization? I would say that prioritization definitely is one of the most important things for a POPM. The factors on which the prioritization depends is actually dependent on the role that you are in. In B2C companies, for example, it will probably vary with some kind of a matrix that, let's say, the amount or the number of customers that you are going to impact, right? It's the same in B2B, but in B2B, maybe you might also include the number of customers that are requesting for that feature, right? Also, you need to evaluate the design effort and the engineering efforts, right? uh, Say for example, you are going to develop a feature that is going to take approximately 2 weeks, and there's one that takes 2 months. Which one will you ship out first, right? uh, of course, you can always argue that I will put in more effort to start the 2 month one, because that's going to take longer cycle to develop, and most likely it's probably also going to be a feature that is going to be essential, right? Since it's taking a longer development cycle. But what I think usually is the best way, because there's also going to be the customer facing aspect to, like, prioritize. You just don't prioritize features because you feel that one is taking less effort, one is taking more effort. The one that is taking obviously less effort, right? In this case, 2 weeks, which probably can call it like a quick win or low hanging fruit, could possibly be proposed as the number one feature that you might develop in terms of prioritization. Why? Because I think, let's say hypothetically, that feature is not impacting as many customers, right? If it is not impacting, then you have a clear case. The second point is that if it is impacting, let's say, less number of customers than this 2 month feature, right, then you still have some case for it to be developed, because that is taking less bandwidth, right? But if you don't have any of those arguments, then definitely the one that is taking 2 months time will be given prioritization. So the whole point of prioritization is to look into multiple aspects: the engineering bandwidth, the customer need, the time it will take to develop, right? So I would say, for example, like if you want to develop some sort of framework, right? So keep in mind the customer request part. I think also keep in mind, let's say, the engineering bandwidth, right? And also look at your time for shipping, right? So this engineering bandwidth is something that you might be working on a shared model with, let's say, all the other features also being developed. How much do you get that? What are the number of front end, back end developers that you get, right? That you need to say. And then time for shipping, obviously, right? I mean, quick wins, let's say, right, versus large effort items, right? Those are, I think, the ones. So customer requests also, like, just summarizing, one customer versus many, right? Or if you want to bring in the dollar impact, I think that also you can use for the argument, right? So I think prioritization also, you can, I mean, I've not included the design, aspect of it, but typically, let's say, design also needs a bandwidth, right? So you can obviously consider that also. But I'm assuming that when you're ready for grooming, right, which is the stage where the engineering is ready to pick it up, design part is already or most likely complete, barring some minor changes, right? So these are, I think, some of the, I would say, parameters that you should consider while prioritization, right? Now, in terms of the internal or the external stakeholders, right, which is the second point, there was question on who are the stakeholders that the PO works with, right? And I mean, I am not here to debate between whether a product owner is a product manager or a product manager is a product owner. Different companies will have different terminologies. What you should look at is the roles and responsibilities, right? So here in this case, for example, a PO or a product manager would definitely have to interact with the product marketing team, the QA engineers, designers, your front end, back end engineers, infra teams, external customers, customer support teams, and maybe in some cases product specialists. Now, all of this depends on the size of the company. So let's say, you are looking at, I don't know, maybe let's say a very large company, right? A very large company like, I don't think that you would have hard time in identifying the names, but let's say the likes of Microsoft and Amazon's, or the fintech giants, right? Like Paytm, etc. Right? In these cases, there would be structure of teams that would have the ownership clearly laid out. You will have a marketing team. You will definitely also have QA. You'll have designers. You'll have front end engineers, back end engineers, external customer facing teams. Clearly, like, and the PO's responsibility is to basically have all of these aligned on what is actually going to be shipped out. I would say then there are like these startups, right? And in startups, there is no structure basically. So you might have basically, let's say, a full stack engineer. You might have just, let's say, one customer facing team, right? That could be including everything from your marketing to your support, right? Etc. Right? So basically, it's the scale of the company that tells you, like, how your role is going to be defined, right? Mid-sized companies, again, somewhere in between, right, where you'll have designers also maybe being front-end engineers, so on and so forth, right? So uh, the list, I think, is going to be dependent on the scale at which the company is operating, right? So that is the big distinction between the stakeholder size, and then you can classify them as external stakeholder. Ownership, I think this person had this specific doubt. Point of differences between like a PO and PM ownership, I think I did touch upon it, but in my experience, I think I've seen it varies from company to company. Uh, Based on, again, my experience, POs, which is product owner, could be more internal tech kind of a PM, where they have more influence on the engineering team's outcomes, right? PMs probably then could be more facing the customers, and handling, let's say, the customer support teams, incoming requests, the TEAMs, like the technical account managers, product specialists, all of that, right? So I would say PO and PM ownership, no clear distinction. You have to understand the scale of the company and then take a call in, whether you are a PO or whether you are a PM. And generally, because this person is trying to apply for roles on PO and PM, roles, the distinction has to be very clear, at least for large scale companies, right? Smaller scale companies could probably have just one doing both, right? So PO and PM, there might not be even any distinction, right? So that's the part that I would clarify here. And then finally, I think the tools as such, I have not seen any distinction here. Like a product owner can work with as many number of tools as you wish, especially on, I think, your product planning sprints, right? I mean, you have your Jira, you have your Confluence for documentation, you have, I think, all the other tools as well. But I think the ones that I have seen, for example, right, also being used by product owners and product managers are, let's say, on the design side, you might have Balsamic and Figma. Fresh release, probably similar to like Jira, in terms of understanding the product release management cycle. And then I think some technical tools which could include SQL and your other querying tools, right? So I hope you found this useful. Idea was to give you a sense of what are some of the different aspects in a product owner or a product management role, and how do you basically help yourself in clarifying the roles and responsibilities associated with a particular title. I have always said this, that do not go by the titles. Different companies will call it different, but you should, for example, know what you are aspiring to be. If you are looking to be a more internal PM kind of a role, then you should see that that roles and responsibilities giving you that opportunity, right? So your internal stakeholders will be very valuable in those cases, right? Whereas if you're looking at more external PM or a kind of an outbound PM kind of a role, right, then I think maintaining relationship with the CS teams and with the account management teams, I think that becomes more important. So no company has one definition for all of this, and hence I suggest that you go through the roles and responsibilities of the role that you are applying for. Ask clarifying questions during the interviews. If you are not satisfied that this is the outcome that I want in my career, look for some other role that aligns more with your career. So I think this video gave you some perspective of how do you actually look at roles when you're applying in companies. And obviously, like, you can reach out to me, book one-on-one consultation with me through the link in the channel, and I hope you subscribe to my channel. And until next time, stay safe.